Title: The Last Voicemail. Prologue. There are voicemails you forget, casual reminders, missed calls, meaningless messages. But then there are voicemails like the one left by Maya Hart, the kind that burrows into your mind, festers, and grows darker every time you replay it. It was the last thing anyone heard from her before she vanished. Part of the Forgotten Files miniseries. Chapter 1. The Missing Girl. It all started on an ordinary evening in the small town of Eldridge Hollow. Maya Hart, a 24-year-old freelance graphic designer, had spent the evening texting her best friend Lena about an upcoming road trip. They joked, shared memes, and discussed trivial things, nothing unusual. At exactly 11:47 p.m., Maya left a voicemail. It was brief, just over 20 seconds long. But what made it unforgettable wasn't what she said. It was what came after a faint, almost imperceptible static that seemed to seep into Lena's ears, leaving a cold, crawling sensation down her spine. Her chest tightened with an inexplicable dread, and for a brief moment, she could swear she heard the faint echo of her own heartbeat syncing with the distant, irregular tapping hidden within the silence. "Hey Lena, I know it's late, but I think someone's outside. I keep hearing this tapping, like on my window, but I'm on the second floor. Anyway, it's probably nothing. Just wanted to hear your voice, I guess. Talk soon." A pause, a faint rustle. Then, just before the message cut off, a soft whisper. "Don't look behind you." Lena replayed it over and over, her heart pounding harder each time. Maya never picked up her phone again. The next morning, her apartment door was found ajar. Her keys were on the counter. Her phone was on the floor, screen cracked, and her bed untouched. But Maya was gone. Chapter 2. Analyzing the voicemail. Lena couldn't shake the feeling that the voicemail was a clue. She shared it with the police, but they dismissed the whisper as background noise, maybe a television or radio. But Lena knew better. She could hear it clearly. That wasn't background noise. Desperate for answers, she reached out to an online community of audio enthusiasts and amateur investigators. One of them, a sound engineer named Chris, agreed to analyze the voicemail. He isolated the background sounds, filtered the static, and slowed it down. The whisper wasn't alone. Beneath Maya's voice, there were faint layers of sound, irregular tapping, distorted breathing, and a low, rhythmic hum like something vibrating just below the threshold of human hearing. When Chris slowed the message to half speed, the whisper became clearer. It wasn't just, "Don't look behind you." There was more. "Don't look behind you. I see you." Chris sent Lena the enhanced version, along with a chilling note. As she pressed play, her fingers trembled slightly, the cold plastic of her phone feeling heavier than usual. The distorted whisper seeped into her ears like a cold draft, sending an involuntary shiver down her spine. Her heart raced, each beat pounding louder against her chest as if trying to escape. She clutched the phone tighter, her breath hitching with every faint, unnatural echo layered beneath Maya's voice. By the time the message ended, Lena's palms were slick with sweat, and her mind swirled with an inexplicable sense of dread, not just fear of the unknown, but a terrifying certainty that something was listening back. "I don't know what this is, but it feels wrong, like it wasn't meant to be heard." Chapter 3. The Tapping. Lena, driven by grief and fear, decided to visit Maya's apartment one last time. She sat in the dark, listening to the voicemail on repeat, trying to make sense of it. As she replayed it for the 100th time, something strange happened. She heard tapping. Not from the phone, not in the recording. In the room. Soft, rhythmic, coming from the window. She froze. Maya's apartment was on the second floor, just like she'd said in the message. Heart pounding, Lena crept toward the window. The tapping stopped. When she peeked through the blinds, there was nothing but darkness and her own reflection staring back. Or so she thought. She turned away, but her reflection didn't move. A cold shiver rippled down Lena's spine as her breath hitched in her throat. Her mind raced, scrambling to rationalize what she had just seen. Maybe it was a trick of the light? A shadow? But deep down, she knew it wasn't. Her heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing in her ears, drowning out the suffocating silence. Sweat beaded at her temples, her legs rooted to the spot despite every instinct screaming for her to run. She felt an oppressive presence looming behind her, the air thick and heavy. as if the room itself was holding its breath, waiting for her next move. Chapter 4. The Reflection. Lena stumbled back, her breath catching in her throat. The reflection smiled, but Lena wasn't smiling. She fled the apartment, racing down the stairs without looking back. She didn't stop running until she was home. Door locked, lights on. She deleted the voicemail, thinking that would be the end of it. For a fleeting moment, relief washed over her fragile, hollow sense of closure. But it was short-lived. The room fell into an unsettling silence, so profound it felt oppressive, as if the very walls were holding their breath. The faint hum of her refrigerator seemed distant, swallowed by the stillness, leaving Lena with the eerie feeling that something was still listening, waiting. It wasn't. The next night, at exactly 11:47 p.m., her phone buzzed. A new voicemail. No number, just unknown caller. She played it, hands trembling. "Hey Lena, I know it's late, but I think someone's outside. I keep hearing this tapping, like on my window." It was Maya's voice. The same message. But this time, the whisper at the end was different. "You can't ignore me." Chapter 5. The investigation deepens. Terrified, Lena contacted Chris again. He analyzed the new voicemail and found something even more disturbing. The background noise contained a faint, distorted version of Lena's own voice, layered beneath Maya's. "Help me, I'm trapped." But Lena had never said those words. Determined to understand, they traced the metadata of the voicemail. It didn't come from any phone tower. In fact, it didn't register as a call at all. It was as if the message had been delivered from nowhere. Chapter 6. The Final Call. Lena became obsessed. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating, just replaying the voicemails over and over, trying to decode the whispers hidden within the static. Until one night, at exactly 11:47 p.m., her phone rang. It wasn't a voicemail this time. She answered. Silence. Then, faint breathing. And a voice. "Don't look behind you." She did. Her breath hitched sharply as her eyes met something that defied explanation. Standing inches behind her was a shadowy figure, its features blurred as if reality itself refused to fully shape it. But the eyes, they were unmistakably hers, staring back with a hollow, soulless intensity. A crooked smile stretched impossibly wide across its face, and just before darkness swallowed her vision, it whispered in perfect unison with her own fading voice. "I see you too." Epilogue. Lena was never seen again. Her apartment was found unlocked, phone on the floor, still recording. The final audio file captured her last words, "I see you too," and a faint tapping sound echoing into the silence. Author's note: if you receive a voicemail from an unknown number and you hear tapping, don't look behind you.